What's happening, everybody? What's happening? What's happening? I don't know why when we get started, I get this kind of geeked. I was just sitting here. All kind of stoic, watching the intro go by. It's reflecting upon the individual I was a year ago when I took those pictures, and the individual I am sitting in front of you now. And I was all stoic, and then as soon as the camera started, I'm like, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Moment with Moschetti podcast. I am your hostesses with the mostesses, Moschetti herself, your sister, auntie, sister, cousin, best friend, always coming with the realness. And I'm here to talk to you guys, to bring you guys part 2 of Reclaiming My Life. We started, it's been about a month since I've been in front of you guys, and a lot of things have transpired in my life that, some of them we're going to talk about on this podcast, some of them ain't your business. But either way, it's been a while, and I'm very glad, I'm very happy to be back in front of you. And I appreciate each and every one of you that tune in live, and each and every one of you that that watch the replays, and I'm encouraged by your presence. So welcome. This is the Moment with Mopets. Hi. I'm going to go ahead and slow down a little bit. This is the Moment with Moschetti podcast, where we talk about mental health and spiritual wellness. I'm your host, and we're going to get into it in just a minute. But before we do that, I always start out with the church announcements. That's still not the intro song. We'll figure it out one day. So announcement number 1. While I was gone, I had a birthday. Yes, you are now sitting in front of a 36-year-old lady. 36 to wear in my knees. Yes, I had a birthday, Team Taurus, and I had a fantastic time celebrating my birthday. I had hosted Moschetti's Birthday Spectacular variety show. Everything was absolutely fantastic. My best friend came into town to celebrate with me. We had some wonderful guests on stage. Shout out to my girls T and Sheena, who danced with me. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you've seen a little dance routine that we put together. Yeah, we were shaking and shimmying and having a good old time. And of course, all the other acts that came through to grace the stage: Sacrificial, Benton, the poet laureate, or soon to be former poet laureate Mario, my good friend RJ Riddle hit the stage. John Stanford came and blessed us with his vocals. I'm just overjoyed with the number of people who agreed to be a part of my show and were so gracious and kind with their time and their energy, and just made the whole night a fantastic time. So we're not stopping there. We're going to bring back the spectacular variety show bigger and better for this Christmas. So stay tuned. Keep your eyes open for that. If you're trying to be a spectacular, if you're trying to dance with me and get in on that adventure, let me know. Hit me up. Because I'm always looking for more people to participate in the show. And we just have a fantastic time between rehearsals, getting to know each other, getting the dance routine out. That is a workout and just a good time all in of itself. So if you want to be a part of that, please let me know. We'll be running it back again for Christmas, and I cannot wait. But yeah, I had a spectacular birthday. Following my show, I had a feature at the Q where I'm not the Q. Lord have mercy. That's where we used to be. Food for Thought, which is now housed at Mikasa Su Cafe. Excuse me, let me get that right. Tuesday nights. I featured on May 7th, right after my birthday, and I got on stage and really just told everybody my business, because that's where my heart was for that feature. And we had a fantastic time. I had the opportunity to step even further outside of my box. I stepped outside of the box for my Christmas show. I stepped even further outside of the box for my birthday show. And then so for the feature, I just continued that trajectory of sharing more pieces of me, sharing different aspects of my artistry, and displaying parts of myself that I don't normally give to the public. So I had a really great time, a really transformative birthday because of those things. Hey, Teek, I see you in the comments, dropping the fire. Ooh. um, yeah, so I just want to give a lot of gratitude towards the whole Food for Thought family for being a part of my life really across the last year. The last time I featured there was a year ago, right before my birthday, and they've really walked in step with me through a lot of personal and um, um, I want to say professional, but really performance growth and development that I've had over the last year. And so I really appreciate the people there. I really appreciate the space. I appreciate the organizers, Trunk Bus at Give Money, and the newer edition, DJ Marty Marr, for just being consistent and present in that space for all of us who come through to share our poetry, to share our music, to share our hearts. I really, truly, like from the depth of my heart, really appreciate you guys in that space and allowing me to have a platform in that space to not only express myself, but connect in with a lot of people. I've connected with a lot of people in my time there. And my life is different in a very good way, in a very, very good way because of it. So thank you guys. And I guess all my church announcements today are just a whole laundry list of thank yous. Because I'd like to give a thank you shout out to the Earth Angel Studio, Alana Parker, and the group Soldiers to Civilians for allowing me to step in and run their or participate in their self-care Sunday today. And yeah, so they brought me in as a therapist, because that's what I do as a profession, to talk about self-care, talk about how to vet and how to find a therapist. And we had a really good conversation regarding that and the parameters and the difficulties that we face when trying to find someone that is compatible with us. And I was able to share with them some of my expertise, some of my experience, and some tips and tricks that I think that they could use to better vet therapists and find someone that is compatible with them. Because as I spoke with them about, your therapist is probably the most intimate relationship that you're going to have with a human being, or at least with your clothes on. and so finding someone who makes you feel comfortable enough to expose yourself and your deepest, darkest secrets is an important thing. And it's a process that should be taken seriously. And even though, therapists are professionals, we're still human beings, and everybody doesn't fit with everybody. So just like you have to vet your friends, you have to vet your partners, you have to vet your employers, you have to vet your therapists. And so I appreciate the group Soldiers to Civilians for allowing me to take space with them. I am not a veteran myself. I have not served in the armed forces, but they still welcome me into their circle with open arms. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you so much. Okay. So let's get into the topic for today. The topic for today is part 2 of Reclaiming My Life. So last time I did Reclaiming My Life, it was all around discipline. And if I can be quite honest, I barely remember what I said that day. I was having a very tough time and a very brain foggy day, and I barely remember what I said that day. And so if I repeat anything today that I said that day, just charge it to my head and not to my heart. I like to bring you guys fresh information, but I like to also be open and honest with you guys about where I am and what my journey is and where my struggles are. And so today we're bringing Reclaiming My Life part 2, which all the time should have been Reclaiming Myself, because it's not necessarily about reclaiming your life. Your life is your life. You're living what you're living, but really reclaiming yourself, because so many of us have lost ourselves along the way. If you're still alive, you haven't lost your life. You're still here. You might have given it away to some things, or it might not be the way that you want it to be, but along the way, many of us have lost ourselves. And many of us have lost ourselves and not even known that we have lost ourselves, or not known to what extent we have lost ourselves. And so this subject of reclaiming myself is really apropos to me, because even between the last episode and this episode, I feel like I have reclaimed so much more of myself. Like I have stepped authentically into my personal identity. I have really stepped into and laid claim to my value systems in ways that I thought I was doing before, but as I looked around in my life and the things that were being reflected around me, I was not. And I had to really sit with myself about choices that I've made, about the things that I like, um, to see how inauthentically I have been living. And so, with that being said, it's reclaiming myself. I guess authenticity would be the tagline for today. Um, because in order to truly reclaim yourself, you have to live an authentic life. You have to be who you are and who you are always meant to be. Now, if you're a believer in God, if you're a believer in the fact that He created us in the womb and that He saw us all at the beginning of time, then you'll have an understanding that God created you to be who you are. He didn't create you to be the person that you're trying to be. He created you to be the person that you are. He didn't create you to run around after fads and trends. He created you to be yourself wherever you fit in the flow of the fad or the trend, whether it be on top of it, in front of it, inside of it, or outside of it. He created you to be authentically you. And the reason why He created you to be authentically you is because not another single person on the planet can do the things that you do the way that you do them. I definitely have stepped into an era of me versus me. I'm my only competition. I'm one of one. In a way, I can say that with my chest like I've never said before, because there literally is no other Moschetti. There is nobody who can do what I do the way I do it. There is nobody who can run this podcast the way I run it. There is nobody who can write like I write. There's nobody who can sing like I sing. There's nobody who can parent like I parent. There's nobody who can love like I love. And that is a good thing. And that is a unique thing. And by stepping into that, by stepping into the fullness of that, I can stand with a lot of esteem, knowing that as long as I'm being authentic to myself, as long as I'm presenting myself in the way that I feel is genuine, in the way that I feel like God has ordained me to, I'm unstoppable. And I don't have a reason to dislike anybody else. I don't have a reason to truly compete with anybody else. I don't have a reason to be upset when things don't come my way that I thought should come my way. Because if I'm truly living my authentic self, if I'm truly being me, if truly nobody can do what I can do the way I can do it, then that means that's the truth for somebody else. And if they ended up in a position that I thought I should be in, then it was really ordained for them to take it. And I'll end up in the positions that I'm supposed to end up in. So it eliminates a lot of disappointment in the way that life goes, because I'm authentically me. I'm stepping in step with the way that the Creator wants me to be. And so if He is ordering my steps and I am living an authentic, genuine life, then every room I step in is the room I'm supposed to be in. Unless the Holy Spirit tells me it's time to leave. Every job I take is the job I'm supposed to have. Unless the Holy Spirit tells me it's time to leave. Every way I present myself is the way I'm supposed to present myself. As long as it's authentic to me, to what I like, to how I see the world. And so that has brought about a lot of internal change for me, a lot of boldness, a lot of audacity. Because why not? Why not live loud? Why not be bigger? Why not be grand? Because I've always been extra. I've been extra since I was little. My granddad used to always say I was always in the way because I would just be in the middle of the room. Why? Because that's the space I chose to take up. Move me. He would. Move me. But, you know, living a more authentic life, living a life that is true and genuine to your own heart, brings a lot of ease, brings a lot of joy, brings a lot of peace, because you're not fighting, you're not having internal conflict. You're on one accord with your soul. You're not chasing after things that don't belong to you. You're on one accord with your purpose. You're not up late at night wondering who, what, when, where, why, and how, because you're in alignment with all of those things, because you're stepping into your authenticity and growing the things that you should that are authentic to your alignment. So, I like a good definition. I like a good definition. And I looked up the word authentic. Authentic was defined as undisputed origin or genuine. Undisputed origin. I am a child of God. That's my undisputed origin. Cassandra, Mom Sketty is my mother. I look just like her. Undisputed origin. As a child of God, I have a certain covering. As a child of God, I have certain expectation. As a child of God, I have certain direction. Undisputed origin. Hey, Mom. Hey, there she go. I just spoke up Mom Sketty. There she is. And when your origin is undisputed, especially something as strong as believing that you are a child of God, when you feel lost, when you feel not like yourself, when you feel outside of that, you have something and somewhere to look to. You have something and somewhere to look to for guidance, for strength, for clarity, for comfort. You have something to look to. And when you have something to look to, you're never quite lost. You have a grounding space, something to land on, something to help bring you back to factory reset. And if your computer start going crazy, I know as much as we don't like to wipe all the memory or whatever, you factory reset. I hate having a factory reset my phone, but it brings it back to its original make. And as much as we hate doing that, anybody who has ever done that and had it work knows that as frustrated as we are about having to wipe the memory, we're happy that the device ends up operating in the way that it was originally intended. And so many of us are so far away from God, or so far away from our purpose, or so far away from ourselves, we are not operating functionally. We're operating dysfunctionally because we are not operating in the way that we originally intended. When you're not living in your purpose, you're not operating in the way that you were originally intended. When you're squandering your days, you are not living in the way that you were originally intended. When you live an unrighteous life, you're not living in the way that you were originally intended. And so there's dis-ease when you're not living the way that you originally intended. There is discomfort. There is that sense of loss when you are not living in the way that you were originally intended. And so to get back to that, we must be genuine. Definition of genuine, not fake, real. Of course, it says authentic. I'm going to cross it out. Not pretending, sincere. Not fake, not pretending, sincere. You might be able to fake and fool other people, but you cannot fake and fool yourself. You may even wrap yourself in a delusion of who you are for a long time to the point where you don't realize how deep you are. But there's still going to be something in your soul that knows that you are being inauthentic. And it can come out a variety of ways. A lot of times it comes out in projection. You get so far away from yourself that you get mad at the rest of the world for being themselves. You get mad at people for doing things that you secretly wish you could do, but you've been living so inauthentically that you just conceptualize it as rage. You just conceptualize it as, well, they're wrong. And not realizing that there's an undercurrent of you desiring that life. Not realizing that there's an undercurrent of you denying yourself. That's why you're so mad at the next person. That's why you have bitterness in your heart. Because there's something in you that is causing you to be fake. That is causing you to pretend. That's causing you to move about life with a lack of sincerity. And that is very, very true. And that's very, very true for people who try to manipulate their way through life instead of living authentically and stepping into their purpose. They spend so much time being inauthentic. They spend so much time trying to spin the world that they think that everybody does it. No, boo, that's how you live. And a lot of people live like that. Not everybody, though. There are genuine, authentic people who simply present themselves the way that they are. But you can't be a manipulator and live your purpose at the same time. There's something in there that is going to be off. And so it's most important that we be sincere with ourselves if we want to reclaim ourselves. If you already have claim to yourself and your authenticity, you probably don't even have much interest in watching this episode. You're probably too busy, to be honest, out living your life in that authenticity. But if you're here and you feel a separation between yourself and your joy, if you're here and you feel a separation between yourself and your true self, it's time to get sincere. It's time to stop pretending. It's time to stop faking. And it's time to face yourself in the mirror and truly dissect your goods, your bads, and your uglies so that you can boast up, thrive in the good, so you can clean up the bad, and so you can give compassion to the ugly. Because we are all of it. Yes, Mom, live in reality. Live in reality and face the reality of your reality. Some of us got some ugly stuff. Some of us have some ugly things that we have gone through. And sometimes because of those ugly things, we have grown distance from ourselves in order to protect ourselves. You know, one of the things that, not one of the things, like really the main topic of the feature that I gave last Tuesday, the Tuesday before, was sexual expression, was stepping into that side of myself, and even stepping into the more feminine, girly sides of myself. Y'all see, I got on. I'm a little more girly than even normal when I come in here. And I had to have a conversation with myself about the authenticity of that and why I don't do it. And the conversation I had with me was, I haven't been safe. There's a lot of unsafe. There's a lot of vulnerability. There's a lot of times where I have been unsafe while being feminine, while being soft, while being girly, while being sexual. And so I've backed up off of that to keep myself safer. You know, you could fight better and run faster in sneakers than you can in heels. You know, people don't. People think you're softer when you look softer. And I haven't always been able to afford for people to think I'm soft. I'm the oldest child, a girl at that. I got a lot of siblings. Most of them got some high heads. And I have had to take care of them. I've had to defend them. You know, I've had to be a roaring lion in my house sometimes. And some of that has taken away from my softness. And so I would see other people who would pour into their appearance, who would pour into their softness, who would elevate these parts of them, who allow themselves to be sexual and free. And I told myself, or I thought the authenticity in that was I didn't want some of those things. But the authenticity in that was I did not feel safe in many of those things. I didn't feel competent in some of those things. Because look, child, walking in these heels all day, I done got used to it now, especially after being in Praise Motivated for a couple of years. We got to dance in heels. But there have been some time. Look, there was a time where I was a heels girl. And then I sprained my ankle, and I didn't wear heels again for like a decade. Like half a decade, too many years. So I never been confident in the whole makeup thing. I don't want to walk around looking like a clown. Yeah, but I like it though. It's cute though. I can live in the authenticity of that. I like when I see a woman all dolled up because I appreciate the aesthetic and the art in it. And there have been times where I've wanted that for myself and I felt like a failure because I couldn't achieve it. But I spent more time being anxious about it and not putting it on and not being bad at it until I got good at it. And hiding it under the guise of, I don't like that stuff. But it's not always that you have had to go through traumatic experiences or felt unsafe. Like I said, you could feel incompetent doing a thing and you don't want to be bad at it before you get good at it. So you never pursue it. There are people who authentically want to pursue different passions in their life, but they feel like they've spent too much time in one direction, that they can't go back or they can't change trajectory. or like they've lost too much time. And I'm telling you, it's not even just older people. I have people who I've talked to who are under 25 who felt like they've invested too much time in one direction and they can't shift and change. And so instead of shifting and changing and moving into an avenue, a job, a partnership, like a house, a neighborhood, a city, like whatever it is, an outfit that makes them feel more authentic, they just resign to live the life that they have because it's easier. Um, and I would say that it's actually harder to live inauthentically than it is to live authentically because you're constantly at battle with yourself. What's difficult is the change. The change is difficult. The shift is difficult. Moving and adjusting your mindset from living one way to actualizing a different life is a big feat. Mom says or never start because it's too hard. Yeah. No, well, you don't even know if it's too hard if you don't start it. You have no idea if the thing that you're doing is too hard if you don't start it. Because how is it too hard and you haven't proven whether or not it's hard at all. So that's an inauthentic assessment there that it's too hard when you haven't even tried it. When my son was little, we had a system for getting homework help at the house. Is did you read the instructions and did you try it before you bring your homework to me? If you haven't read the instructions and you didn't try, don't bring me your homework. At least do those things. At least try. And then you can show me that it's hard. But many times we let that spirit of fear consume us to the point where it convinces us that we are not good enough, that it's too hard, that it's too complicated, that it'll take too long, that's just not me. If it ain't you, it ain't you. Because when I go home, I'm going to take this dress off, I'm going to wash my face. And I want to say I'm going to clean my house, but that might not be very authentic of me to say that on the record. Because that's who I'm going to want to be when I get home. That's how I'm going to, oh, no, I got rehearsal tonight. So, dang, I can't even do that. Anyways, that's irrelevant. That spirit of fear will throw you sideways and make you think that there are so many things in your life that are tied to your purpose. It makes you think that you don't want those things. It makes you think that those things are too hard or impossible, or who does that, or why me? I'm too little for that, or I'm just me, or who am I to even try? Everybody who's ever done anything got over the hump of who am I to even try. Everybody. At some point or another, the person who owns McDonald's had to get over the who am I to even try to sell burgers? Who's going to buy a burger? You can just make a burger at home. Now look, some of your biggest podcasters had to get past who am I to start a podcast? There's a million of them out there. Who am I? And they did it anyways. Your favorite artist, your favorite musician had to get past who am I to sing this song, to write these lyrics, to put this out here in the world. Who am I? Your doctor, who am I to go to medical school? Your lawyer, who am I to go to law school? Your doula, who am I to go to in that direction? Everybody who does anything had to get past the who am I to do it in order to do it. Had to seek within their heart the authenticity of what it is that they truly desire and pursue their passions. And when you're living in your purpose, things flow. When you're living in your authenticity, life becomes easier because you're in alignment with all of the things that you're supposed to do and all the things that are supposed to be for you. And I'm not saying it does not require work. It will be work. You have to work, but it won't be as laborious. If you're laboring, if you're grinding tough, walking through the mud in order to get to the other side, you might not be working in your authenticity. You might not be working in your purpose. You might be trying to squeeze out something that's not even meant for you. Because there's a certain ease that goes along with your purpose. There's a certain fortification that you get, even if it's a long day and strenuous hours that you get when it is a part of your passion, when it's your heart, that just doesn't happen when you're working outside of that. And then on top of that, the result not only fuels you, but it fortifies those around you. It fortifies those around you when you do what you're doing, when you do what you're supposed to do in alignment with your purpose. I saw it was like a meme or something on Facebook. I think I saw it last week that said your purpose isn't how you feel when you're doing what you're doing, it's how others feel when you do what you do. Because we don't always feel anything. Sometimes we don't feel anything when we're working on our purpose because it's just such a flow. It's like breathing. But the way that other people respond it can be beyond your capacity for understanding because you're living in your purpose. Your purpose isn't just for your own joy, it is for your contribution to the world. So that we can build a village and all be a part of each other's lives. And when you're walking authentically in your purpose, you can pour into the world and the world can pour back into you. You can pour back into you while you're pouring into the world. So that we can all be better, be stronger, be greater, be fulfilled, be inspired, be healed. Be encouraged. That's what walking in your authenticity does. That's what walking in your purpose does. And sometimes a lot of times we have no idea what the impact is going to be. We don't even get a chance to even see sometimes those who are impacted by us living our purpose. There's an artist, and I really wish I knew their name because I can't remember it right now. A good friend of mine owns art studio and had been hanging their art for a long time. And I every time I went to the art studio, I was just captivated by these particular pieces of artwork. They have very detailed women figures, and it's the way that it's cut out is just the figures, and the pieces of artwork are like taller than me. They're huge pieces of work, and I've seen them in the art gallery. I was at Coffee Makes You Black last week, and I saw this artist's work hanging up in the space. And I was just in awe of how beautiful it looked in such a large space, how bold these women's images are, how captivating they are, how detailed they are. And I immediately recognized the work from having seen it somewhere else. But like I said, I don't know this artist. I know their work, and I know how their work makes me feel. It makes me feel encouraged. It makes me feel powerful. It makes me feel strong. I'm like, look at these Black women you done drawn. Come on now. And I may or may not ever meet that artist. That artist may or may not ever hear me say these words. But if they are living in the purpose of doing art that impacts the world, that encourages people, that stirs up a feeling, they have been effective in that. But what if they never painted a picture? What if they allowed fear to take over and they never tried to sell a piece of work? What if they never picked up a brush? Shoot, what if they're not even indulging in their art right now? Because they don't think it has a point. We lose something. We lose beauty. We lose their contribution to the world. We lose why they are meant to be a village member. If you're not walking in your authenticity, if you're not doing that thing that you're meant to do, we lose you. We lose you and your impact and your contribution to the village and everything that comes with that. And there is no purpose and there is no piece of authenticity and there's no part of you that is too small to be pushed. There's no part of you that's too large to be embraced. You just have to be it. Because the impacts that we make, you never know how resounding it could be. You never know what kind of changes you can elicit in the next person just by being you, just by living how you live, by being authentic to the person that you are, by giving an encouraging word when it needs to be given. You don't have to be painting 6 foot tall images in order to make an impact in this world. You can answer a question when somebody asks you. You can give encouragement when you see somebody is low. You can borrow somebody a pen when you see that they having a struggle go through their I don't know, like you can invite somebody out to an event. You can be kind when you see somebody walk into the room and sit next to you. You can give an offering of your time or your money or your resources. You can say yes when somebody is trying to give an offering of their time, money, and resources. There's a plethora of things that you can do that will impact the world, that can be aligned with your purpose. And we need it. We need it. We don't need you to hesitate. We need you to work. We need you to do. Mom says what you may think is regular may be amazing to someone else. Absolutely. Some of us stop our purposes because we think that what we're doing is so regular that don't nobody care. But when you reclaim yourself, you have to understand when you are centered, when you are yourself, you have to understand everything you do can be a great impact. Everything you do matters. Everything you do matters, even if it feels regular, because you don't know how big that can be to the next person. You're never too young, never too old to make an impact. I have a close friend of the family who told me, but his grandma, before she passed away, she still would have her church directory out and calling other folk on the sick and shut in list to see how they doing. Because her philosophy was, as long as I have breath in my body, that's something I can be doing. No, she might not be able to visit your house and feed you, bring you a meal like she could a decade or two prior to that. No, she might not be able to help you watch your kids or lend you any money like she could 2 or 3 decades before that. But she can call you. And she can spend a moment with you to make you not feel alone. And if you've ever been alone, if you ever been in a spot and somebody random, honestly, even if you ain't been in a spot and somebody random from church calls you, that's a feeling of care that I can't describe. I had a couple church people hit me up some years ago because I missed service, and I only missed service because I was out of town, but they didn't know I was out of town, but they called me anyways because they saw me every week. They're like, "You're regular. Where you at?" Not accusatory, not like, it wasn't mean, it wasn't rude. It was a genuine concern because they took it upon themselves to include that as part of their ministry because it was in them to check up on people. And that phone call, it's just a regular day for them. But for me, I felt seen. I felt appreciated. I felt taken care of. And it would have meant something if I was doing more than just like out for the week, out of town. Like it would have meant something big. I mean, it meant something big anyways, because you see, I still remember it, and that was like years ago. But it would have meant something different had I been struggling with staying in fellowship. So I say that to say there's nothing too small or nothing too big to align with your purpose. You just have to live authentically you. Be authentically you. You never know who you can inspire. I've said some things on stage in the last year that I never thought I was going to tell anybody. And people have come to me afterwards saying that they were inspired. And there were some times I struggled with it because I'm like, why y'all want to, y'all telling me I need to be personal, be deep, be intimate all the time. And I'm like, this makes me very uncomfortable. You're asking me to be very uncomfortable all the time. And I struggled with that because I'm like, why are y'all so entertained by my pain? But it wasn't that they were entertained by my pain. Is that they connected to my authenticity. And there's just something that is heart to heart about the writings that are in my notebook that is just not the same as when I'm up there rhyming real fast about myself. Because look, Jay-Z and Snoop Dogg can talk about themselves in every rap they want to. I can too, okay? And as fun as those pieces are, as witty as people think I am when I spit them out, they don't have the same emotional depth as my authentic work. And I had to be okay with the idea that people want the authentic work because they feel the heart in it. People need the authentic work because they feel inspired by it. People deserve the authentic work because there's healing in it. There's healing in it. And that's also why I come here. Because somebody's going to get healed by this. Somebody's going to connect with this. Somebody's going to be touched. Somebody's going to change. Somebody's going to live more authentically. Somebody going to like throw out their dingy clothes and buy something new. Like somebody's going to do something different. Somebody's going to step outside their box, which they're going to find out is actually stepping inside of themselves. Somebody's going to live more genuinely just because I told them to, just because they spent time here, just because I'm leading by example, just because I'm encouraging it, just because they didn't really take into consideration how far away from themselves they got until having this conversation here, spending this moment with me. And that's what we do it for, to bring ourselves together, to reclaim ourselves. Because it doesn't matter what you do or where you go, what changes or how you grow. If you are living inauthentically to yourself, you're going to get in the way of your own happiness. If you are not living according to your heart, according to your true desires, if you're making choices out of trauma, if you're making choices out of fear, if you're making choices out of safety, if you're making choices out of doubt, if you're living your life according to those principles instead of according to God's guidance, according to your authenticity, according to the opportunities that he lays in front of you, he can't even lay opportunities in front of you until you truly step into the purpose that he has for you. And look, a lot of times I talk theoretically about what I feel, or what I'm a little theoretical about what I have to say, even though in my heart I know it's real. Even though in my heart I know some of the messages are coming from higher up. But today I can say I'm living like for real lived experience, because between the last time I was here and now, I've lived so much more authentically. And when I say opportunities have been falling in my lap, it's been crazy. And I know it's because God knows now I'll say yes. God knows now I won't run from it. God knows now I'm not afraid to mess it up while I'm doing it, because I'm not perfect. I'm more willing to show people my bloopers and my scars than I ever was before. And he can't work with me with an image of perfection. He can't work with me with all that fear clouding up the space. He can only work with me being an authentic person, because authentic people are going to connect with me. If I'm real, I can meet the people where they are. If I'm unafraid, I can show up bolder with more authority, grasping on to the knowledge of what I do know and being unafraid to express my limitations. God knows I can boldly say yes now to things I would have teetered on, had doubts about, second guessed and questioned. And they're falling on my lap because I'm living more authentically. I wrote something down here. Inauthenticity compromises your ambition. It compromises your ambition and it compromises your boundaries. If you're not living authentic to yourself, you are not pointing yourself in the direction that you could go. You may not even have ambitions for different things in life. You might be feeling confused about what you even should be ambitious about because you're not authentic to what your true desires are. You will spend time talking yourself out of the very thing that will bring you light. Being inauthentic compromises your boundaries because when you are not true to yourself, you will allow things into your life that you know in your heart are against your value system, but you will compromise and make allowances for it against yourself. You'll fail to place boundaries where they belong, and you'll put up roadblocks in other areas to compensate for it. Likely because you've been hurt from where you left the gate open, but putting up a stone wall in the wrong spot ain't gonna do anything but block your blessings. But you don't trust yourself to make decisions around yourself because you don't live authentically. You don't trust yourself to be by yourself because you don't live authentically. You don't trust your choices because you don't live authentically. And so today is all about keeping it real. Today is all about being you. Today is all about living authentically. And today is all about knowing that God knows you. He made you how he made you at the origin of you. You've always been you. It's just through the stream of time, things have gotten cluttered in your field. Well, I'm here to tell you that if things have gotten cluttered in your field of vision, it's time for a factory reset. It's time to reclaim yourself. It's time to dive into those passions that you've put down. It's time to walk down those paths that you are afraid of. It's time to reach out for those things that you desire. It's time to remove bitterness around the things that you say that you don't like so that you can see the beauty in them anyways. It's time to remove jealousy from around your heart of the people who and places and things that are existing in their fullness, especially if you don't feel like you're existing in yours. It is time. It is time. It's time to be you. And it's time to allow anybody who doesn't like you being you to go ahead and exit stage left. Because if they don't like the authentic you, they never liked you in the first place. They just like the facade that you were putting up for their comfort. And if you're living your life under a facade for somebody else's comfort, we like to tell ourselves that it's for our comfort or to not rock the boat. But really, you're just living a life in denial of your joy. You're pigeonholing yourself into a longer string of destruction, distrust, and animosity. And we would like to say, well, we would have animosity towards other people. But really, the animosity that we have a lot of times is towards ourselves. Because we cultivated a life that we never liked in the first place for the sake of optics, safety, consistency, instead of joy and purpose and community. Do I got anything on this paper? When you're not authentic, you chase away joy, you chase away opportunities, and you chase away experiences because you're not in the position to say yes to those things. You chase them away. You reject them. They never approach because you don't think those things belong to you anyways. So as you get back to yourself, be gentle. Be gentle with yourself as you get back to yourself. Take your time with yourself as you get back to yourself. It is a journey. And until you start coming into the light, you may not know how far in the darkness you are. So be compassionate with every version of you. The version of you that lost themselves, because the version of you that gave up parts of their authenticity did it to survive for some reason. And so we give honor and we give credence to ourselves, to every version of ourselves, even the versions of ourselves that denied ourselves, because the purpose of that was to keep us safe, was to keep us going in the best way that we knew how. But now we're going to allow ourselves to turn the corner. We're going to hold our own hand as we elevate and know that being you is the very best thing that you can do. It ain't so scary. It's actually kind of cool. It's liberating because you don't have to hide. You don't have to worry. You just get to be. And with that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and pray and give final announcements. And Mom, if you got any final words in the comments, please let me know. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for your blessings. I thank you for your love. I thank you for your guidance. And I thank you for your protection. I thank you for allowing me to see me, allowing me to see me through your eyes and the person that you destined me to be. I ask that you give love and guidance and protection and peace and joy to all those who are under the sound of my voice. May they seek you, may they find you, and may they find themselves in the process and live that out loud and authentically. In Jesus' name, thank God. Amen. All right. Thank y'all for spending a moment with me. I really appreciate it. I love doing this podcast. I miss it when I'm not here. I get a little nervous before I come back because I'm like, I feel like it's been so long. Like, can I still carry how I carry? But you know, when I get to this mic, it feels right. So I appreciate you. For all those who watch in real time, for the encouragement I've gotten from people who never like, comment, or share, but definitely are watching. Like, I see y'all, I feel y'all, I love y'all, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate every piece of encouragement that I get from people, especially when y'all come to me in real life. Like, I'll be watching. I love it. I appreciate it. So yeah, so if you want to give me a little bit of appreciation, Mom's right on time. You can feel free to hit my Cash App if you want to give a little financial appreciation for the time spent here, for the messages that are sent here. Hit my Cash App, #Mo Sketty. Buy me a coffee, buy me a car, whatever's in your wallet or whatever is in your heart. I greatly appreciate it. Your contribution goes to making sure that I pay my studio fees. And all of that jazz. And also just for my time here, because my time is very valuable. I could be doing anything in the world, but I choose to spend it with you, and I don't take it for granted. But I also don't want y'all to take me for granted either. With that being said, this has been the Moment with Mo Sketty podcast. Thank you for spending a moment with me. I greatly appreciate you. Go ahead, take me out, Tom.